Welcome to Story Tales. Please like this video and subscribe to Story Tales. I hope you enjoy the story. Let's begin.
The front door clicked shut behind Raya Ellison as she stepped into the house that never felt like home. Her backpack hung heavy with textbooks from her computer science classes, and her laptop case pressed against her shoulder. The living room sat empty, pristine as always. Not a single birthday decoration in sight. 21 years old today. She'd expected nothing, but the silence still cut. Carla Ellison emerged from the kitchen, her blonde hair pulled back in a perfect bun, makeup flawless despite the late afternoon hour. She wore her usual uniform of designer athleisure and judgment. "You're late," Carla said, crossing her arms. "I told you to be home by 4. Class ran over. Raya set her bags by the door. "Professor had questions about our final projects." Always an excuse. Carla's voice carried that familiar edge. "Sit down. We need to talk." Raya remained standing. Something felt wrong. The house was too quiet. Nova should be home from school by now, probably live streaming to her followers or practicing whatever dance was trending. Miles should be in his home office, typing away at his accounting work. Where is everyone? "Nova's at Madison's house. Your father's running errands." Carla smoothed her yoga pants. "I wanted to speak with you alone." The kitchen island stood between them like a courtroom barrier. Carla pulled out her phone, scrolling through what looked like bank statements. "You're 21 now," Carla began. "An adult, which means you're no longer our responsibility." Raya's stomach dropped, but her face stayed neutral. She'd learned early that showing emotion only gave Carla ammunition. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you're freeloading. You waste your life on that computer degree, working some pathetic tech support job from your bedroom. You contribute nothing to this household." "I pay rent, $300 a month." Carla laughed, sharp and bitter. $300 doesn't cover utilities. We've been supporting you for years, and frankly, we're done." The words hung in the air. Raya felt her chest tighten, but she kept breathing steady. "You want me to move out?" "I want you gone. Tonight. By midnight." "It's my birthday." Which is exactly why this conversation is happening now. You're an adult. Act like one. Raya glanced toward the stairs. "My things already packed." Carla's smile was cruel. 3 suitcases and 2 boxes. Everything you need is waiting by the garage door. The casual cruelty of it hit harder than shouting would have. They'd planned this, discussed it, decided her fate without including her in the conversation. "Where am I supposed to go?" "That's not our problem anymore. We gave you enough. It's time you figured things out on your own." Raya nodded slowly. She could feel something cold settling in her chest, freezing over the hurt. "And Nova's in high school. She needs stability. She needs parents who don't throw their children away." Carla's face hardened. "Don't you dare lecture me about parenting. I sacrificed everything for you girls. The least you could do is show some gratitude." "Gratitude?" The word came out flat. "For what exactly?" "For giving you a roof over your head. For building your credit. For teaching you responsibility." Building her credit. The phrase sent ice through Raya's veins. She thought of the credit card statements she'd found 3 years ago, the ones with her name on them that she'd never applied for. "Right," Raya said. "Thanks for that." She walked to the garage door without another word. True to Carla's promise, her belongings sat neatly stacked. Everything she owned in the world, reduced to 5 containers. Carla followed her, watching as Raya loaded the first suitcase into her car. "This isn't personal," Carla said. "It's just business." Raya paused, her hand on the car door handle. She looked back at the woman who'd given birth to her, raised her, and was now discarding her like expired food. "Everything with you is personal, Carla. You just don't want to admit it. She drove away without crying, but inside her chest, something dark and calculating began to stir. Juno Patel's apartment smelled like cardamom and coffee. The small one-bedroom space above her parents' diner was cramped but warm, filled with mismatched furniture and plants that somehow thrived despite the limited sunlight. "Happy birthday to me," Raya muttered, dropping her suitcase by the door. Juno looked up from her laptop, taking in Raya's grim expression and the luggage. "What happened?" "Got evicted. By my own mother. On your birthday." Juno's voice rose an octave. "Are you kidding me?" Raya sank into the second-hand couch they'd found on Craigslist. "Apparently, I'm a freeloader who needs to learn responsibility. You work 40 hours a week while going to school full-time. What planet is she living on?" "Planet Carla, where image matters more than anything else." Raya pulled out her laptop. "Can I crash here tonight? I'll figure something else out tomorrow. You can crash here as long as you need." Juno closed her own laptop and sat beside her. "But first, tell me everything." As Raya recounted the conversation, Juno's expression grew darker. When she finished, Juno was practically vibrating with anger. "She had your stuff packed already? Who does that?" "Someone who's been planning this for a while." Raya opened her laptop and navigated to her email. "Actually, this timing might be perfect." "Perfect? How is being homeless perfect?" "Because now I don't have to worry about burning bridges." Raya's fingers moved across the keyboard with purpose. "I've been collecting evidence for 3 years. Time to put it to use." She pulled up a folder labeled Financial Documents and started opening files. Screenshots of credit card statements, bank records, email threads with customer service representatives. Evidence of what? Remember when I was 15 and had to give Carla my social security number for FAFSA applications? Juno nodded. "College financial aid stuff, right?" "That's what she told me." Raya clicked on a PDF dated 3 years ago. Turns out she was opening credit cards in my name. The statement filled the screen. Raya Ellison's name at the top, followed by charges she'd never made. Designer handbags, luxury spa treatments, expensive dinners at restaurants she'd never been to. "Holy shit," Juno breathed. "That's identity theft." 5 different credit cards, maxed out every one. Raya scrolled through the charges. She racked up nearly $30,000 in debt using my name and social security number. "When did you find out?" "Junior year of high school. I was trying to check my credit score for a financial literacy class. Instead, I found this mess." Raya pulled up another document. When I confronted her about it, she said she was building my credit and that I should be grateful. Juno leaned closer to the screen. "These purchases, this is all her stuff. Every single charge. She bought herself a wardrobe and then stuck me with the bill." "Did you report it?" "I was 17 and living under her roof. She convinced me it would help my credit in the long run. Said we were a family and families help each other." Raya's voice stayed steady, but her jaw tightened. I was stupid enough to believe her." "You weren't stupid. You were a kid who trusted her mother." Raya pulled up an email thread with Capital One customer service. I started documenting everything after that. Every statement, every charge, every conversation. She never knew I was building a case. The emails showed a pattern. Raya requesting information about accounts she hadn't opened. Customer service confirming that applications had been submitted with her social security number and forged signatures. "Look at this one." Raya clicked on an audio file. She was bragging to her book club about how smart she was for establishing credit for both her daughters early. Juno put on headphones and listened. After 30 seconds, she pulled them off with disgust. She's admitting to fraud while laughing about it. Gets better, or worse, depending on your perspective. Raya opened another folder. She did the same thing to Nova last year. 2 credit cards, both maxed out. Nova knows. Nova doesn't care. As long as the money keeps flowing for her shopping trips and social media lifestyle, she doesn't ask questions. Juno sat back, processing the scope of what she was seeing. This is insane. Your mother is a criminal. My mother is a narcissist who believes rules don't apply to her. Raya closed the laptop. But that's about to change. What are you going to do? Raya looked out the window at the city lights beginning to twinkle in the evening darkness. For the first time all day, she smiled. I'm going to take my name back. Raya woke before dawn, her mind sharp and focused. Juno was still asleep, so she made coffee quietly and settled at the kitchen table with her laptop and phone as she'd spent 3 years preparing for this moment. Now it was time to execute. The first call went to Experian. I need to report identity theft, she told the representative. Someone has been opening credit accounts using my social security number without my permission. I can help you with that. Can you provide your full name and social security number? Raya rattled off the information while opening the folder of documentation she'd assembled. The representative walked her through the process, placing fraud alerts on her credit report and beginning the dispute process for each fraudulent account. You'll need to file a police report and submit an identity theft affidavit, the representative explained. Already prepared. Raya pulled up the forms she'd filled out the night before. I have documentation proving these accounts were opened without my knowledge or consent. That's unusual. Most identity theft victims don't have this level of documentation. I'm thorough. The call took 45 minutes. By the time she hung up, fraud alerts were in place with all 3 credit bureaus, and the dispute process had begun for every account Carla had opened. Next came the banks. Chase Bank was first, then Capital One, then Discover. Each conversation followed the same pattern. Raya provided her information, explained the situation, and submitted her evidence. The representatives were sympathetic and efficient. Within 2 hours, every fraudulent account was frozen pending investigation. The account holder who made the charges will receive notification that the account has been suspended, the Chase representative explained. How long before they find out? Usually within 24 hours. They'll receive a letter and email notification. Perfect. Juno emerged from the bedroom as Raya was finishing her final call. You're up early, Juno said, rubbing her eyes. Couldn't sleep. Raya closed her laptop. Want to grab breakfast? I feel like celebrating. Celebrating what? My independence. They walked to the diner downstairs, where Juno's parents greeted them with warm smiles and extra bacon. Raya ate slowly, savoring both the food and the anticipation of what was coming. Her phone buzzed with a text from Nova. Mom's freaking out about something. She's been on the phone all morning yelling at customer service people. Raya deleted the message without responding. Everything okay? Juno asked. Everything's perfect. Around noon, her phone rang. Carla's name flashed on the screen. Raya let it go to voicemail. The second call came 5 minutes later. Then a third. On the 4th call, she answered. Hello, Carla. What did you do? Carla's voice was shrill with panic. My cards aren't working. None of them. I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. This has your fingerprints all over it. Raya looked at Juno, who was watching with barely contained glee. You told me I needed to take responsibility for my life, Raya said calmly. So I did. I took responsibility for my credit, my debt, and my identity. You can't do this. Those accounts are mine. Actually, they're not. They're in my name, using my social security number, which makes them mine. And since I never applied for them or authorized their use, they're fraudulent. The silence on the other end stretched for nearly 10 seconds. You ungrateful little bitch, Carla finally hissed. After everything I've done for you. Thank you for clarifying your true feelings, Raya said. I'm recording this conversation, by the way. For my records. She wasn't actually recording, but the threat had the desired effect. Carla's tone shifted to fake sweetness. Honey, I think there's been a misunderstanding. We can work this out. Why don't you come home and we'll talk? I don't have a home there anymore. Remember? You made that very clear yesterday. That was just. I was upset. You know how I get. We're family. Family doesn't commit identity theft. I was helping you build credit. By maxing out cards and leaving me with the debt? How exactly was that helping? Carla's composure cracked. You have no idea how hard it is to maintain a household. The mortgage, the car payments, Nova's expenses. You contributed nothing. I contributed my credit score and my financial future. This is ridiculous. I'm your mother. I have every right to. You have no rights when it comes to my identity, Raya cut her off. The banks agree. So does the credit bureau. And soon, so will the police. The police. Carla's voice went up an octave. Identity theft is a federal crime. I filed a report this morning. The line went dead. Raya set down her phone and smiled at Juno. Phase 1 complete. 3 days after the cards were frozen, Raya's phone buzzed with a notification from her fake Instagram account, the one she used to keep tabs on her family's social media presence. Nova had posted a story from the country club grill, but instead of her usual smiling selfie, the video showed Carla standing at the hostess station, her face red with embarrassment as she fumbled through her purse. I don't understand, Carla was saying to someone off camera. The card worked fine yesterday. Raya screenshotted the story before it disappeared. The satisfaction felt better than coffee. Over the next week, the evidence of her family's financial collapse trickled through social media and local gossip. Juno's mother, who ran the diner, heard from customers that Carla had been turned away from her weekly yoga studio payment. Nova's Instagram posts became less frequent, and when she did post, the designer outfits were replaced with older clothes from her closet. Your mom tried to pay for gas with 4 different cards yesterday, Juno reported after her shift at the diner. Mrs. Patterson from the nail salon saw the whole thing, said she looked ready to cry. Raya didn't feel guilty. She felt vindicated. The Real explosion came on Thursday. Raya was in the computer lab at school when her phone started buzzing incessantly. Text after text from Nova, each one more desperate than the last. Raya, please call me. Mom is losing her mind. What did you do? She's saying you ruined everything. I can't go on the senior trip now. My followers are asking why I haven't posted. This is so embarrassing. Raya turned off her phone and focused on her programming assignment. When she emerged from the building 2 hours later, she found Carla waiting by her car. Her mother looked haggard. The perfect makeup was smudged, her hair was escaping its usual perfect style, and her designer athleisure was wrinkled. She looked like she'd been crying. We need to talk, Carla said, stepping into Raya's path. No, we don't. You can't keep doing this. You're hurting innocent people. Raya stopped walking. Innocent people? Nova didn't do anything wrong. Neither did your father. This is between you and me. Nova benefited from the same fraud you committed, and Miles knew exactly what you were doing. Raya adjusted her backpack. There are no innocent people in this story except me. You're being dramatic. I made a few mistakes with the credit cards, but... A few mistakes. Raya's voice stayed level, but her eyes were ice. $30,000 in debt. 5 fraudulent accounts. 3 years of lies. That's not a mistake, Carla. That's a pattern. Other students were starting to stare. Carla noticed and lowered her voice. People are talking. My friends, Nova's friends. This is humiliating. Good. How can you say that? I'm your mother. You stole my name. Now I took it back. Carla's face twisted with rage. You vindictive little... Careful, Raya interrupted. We're in public. Wouldn't want to damage your reputation further. She walked to her car, ignoring Carla's shouted protests. As she drove away, she could see her mother in the rearview mirror, standing alone in the parking lot, looking smaller than she'd ever seen before. Barrett Ellison showed up at the diner on Friday night, his work clothes dusty from a day on a construction site. Raya had never seen him in person before. Carla had made sure of that, but she recognized him immediately. He had Miles' gentle eyes and the same stubborn jawline she saw in her own mirror. "You must be Raya," he said, sliding into the booth across from her. "I'm your Uncle Barrett." "I know who you are." She closed her laptop. "What do you want?" "To buy you dinner and have a conversation." Juno appeared with a coffee pot and 2 menus. "Everything okay here?" "We're fine," Barrett said. "Just family catching up." After Juno left, Barrett leaned back in the booth and studied Raya with tired eyes. "I saw your blog," he said finally. Raya's stomach dropped. She'd started Burden, Not Broken 3 months ago, writing about financial abuse and family dysfunction without naming names. It had gained a small but dedicated following. "Which blog?" "Burden, Not Broken." "Good name. Accurate." He pulled out his phone and showed her the latest post, which had over 2,000 views. "You write well. Clear. Honest. Reminds me of your grandmother." "I didn't know you read Medium." "I don't, usually. But your story showed up on my TikTok feed yesterday. Someone made a video about it. Got 500,000 views." Raya's hands went cold. She'd been careful to keep everything anonymous. "But if it was going viral—" "Don't worry," Barrett said, reading her expression. "You didn't use names. But I recognize the story, especially the part about parents stealing their kids' identity for credit cards." "How did you?" "Because Carla tried to get me to co-sign a loan for her 5 years ago. When I refused, she cut me out of the family completely. Said I was jealous of their success." He sipped his coffee. "Looks like my instincts were right." The waitress came to take their order. Barrett ordered a burger and fries. Raya wasn't hungry, but she asked for soup just to have something to do with her hands. "Why are you here?" she asked once they were alone again. "To warn you, and to tell you I'm proud of you." "Warn me about what?" "Carla doesn't admit when she's wrong. Ever. She'll play victim before she takes responsibility." Barrett's expression was grim. "She's probably already spinning a story about how you're an ungrateful daughter who destroyed the family out of spite." "Let her. The truth is documented. Documentation is good. Keep collecting it." He leaned forward. "But watch your back. When cornered, she gets nasty." Their food arrived, and they ate in companionable silence for a few minutes. Barrett ate like a man who worked with his hands all day efficiently and without wasting time. "Can I ask you something?" Raya said finally. "Shoot. Why didn't you ever try to contact me? Before now, I mean." Barrett set down his burger and sighed. "I tried. When you were little, I'd call on your birthday, send Christmas presents. Carla always said you were too busy or not interested. Eventually I gave up. She never told me. I figured as much." His smile was sad. She's good at controlling the narrative. Raya thought about all the birthdays, all the holidays when she'd wondered why they never saw extended family. Carla had always claimed that Barrett was unreliable, that he'd abandoned the family during some long-ago argument. "What really happened between you and Miles?" "Our dad died 10 years ago, left the family business to both of us, but I was the one actually running it. Miles wanted to sell everything and split the money. I wanted to keep it going, honor what Dad built." Barrett shrugged. "Carla convinced him that I was trying to cheat him out of his inheritance. They sued me for their share." "Did they win?" "Legally, yes. They got their money, but it nearly destroyed the business. I had to let go half my employees and take on massive debt to buy them out." He finished his coffee. "Miles knew what that would do to me. He didn't care. The pieces clicked into place. That's why you didn't co-sign the loan. Exactly. Once was enough. Raya felt a strange sense of kinship with this man she barely knew. Are you angry? About the money, the business? I was. For a long time. Barrett pulled out his wallet and left money on the table. But anger only hurts the person carrying it. I built something new. Smaller, but it's mine. Is that advice? If you want it to be. He stood up. What you're doing takes courage. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. As he reached the door, he turned back. Your blog is getting attention. Real attention. Might want to consider making it a bigger platform. After he left, Raya opened her laptop and checked her blog stats. Barrett was right. The latest post had exploded overnight. Comments poured in from readers, sharing their own stories of financial abuse and family dysfunction. She spent the next hour reading every comment, her chest tight with recognition and fury. She wasn't alone. There were hundreds of people out there with similar stories, many of them still trapped in situations they felt powerless to escape. By the time Juno's shift ended, Raya had made a decision. I'm going to file formal reports, she told Juno as they walked upstairs. What kind of reports? Identity theft affidavit with the FTC. IRS fraud tip about unreported income. Maybe contact the state attorney general's office about consumer fraud. Juno whistled low. That's serious stuff. It's a serious crime. Raya's tone wasn't bitter or angry. It was clinical, matter of fact. Time to make it official. The knock on the apartment door came at 7 a.m, followed immediately by aggressive pounding. Open up. I know you're in there. Juno groaned from the couch where she'd been sleeping, giving Raya the bedroom. Please tell me that's not who I think it is. Raya peered through the peephole. Carla stood in the hallway, her hair wild and her makeup smeared. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Don't answer it, Juno whispered, but Carla had spotted the shadows under the door. I can see the lights are on. Stop hiding like a coward. Raya unlocked the door, but kept the chain engaged, opening it just enough to see her mother's face. What do you want, Carla? I want you to stop this insanity before it goes too far. It's already gone too far. 3 years too far. Carla's eyes were bloodshot and desperate. Your father lost his job. The words hit Raya like a physical blow, but she kept her expression neutral. What are you talking about? His credit check came back flagged for fraud investigation. His employer terminated him for undisclosed financial irregularities. Carla's voice cracked. He's worked there for 15 years. Raya felt a flicker of something, guilt, regret, but pushed it down. He co-signed the fraudulent accounts. That makes him complicit. He didn't know. He knew. He signed the papers. He saw the bills. Raya's grip tightened on the door. Don't try to rewrite history now. Fine. Carla's desperation turned to rage. You want to play hardball? I can play hardball too. She pulled out her phone and showed Raya a legal document. Countersuit for defamation and emotional distress. My lawyer says I have a solid case. Raya read the first paragraph, then started laughing. You're suing me for telling the truth about crimes you committed. I'm suing you for trying to destroy your family out of spite. Spite. Raya's laughter stopped abruptly. You stole my identity. You ruined my credit. You left me with $30,000 in debt. And when I fixed it, you call it spite. I gave you life. I raised you. I sacrificed everything for you. You sacrificed me. For your lifestyle, your image, your comfort. You used me like a credit card. Carla's face was turning red. You have no idea what it costs to raise children. Nova's school, her activities, the house payment. Not my problem anymore. You made that clear when you threw me out. That was a mistake. I was angry. Come home and we'll figure this out together. Raya almost felt sorry for her. Almost. I am home. This is my home now. She started to close the door, but Carla shoved her foot into the gap. You're going to regret this. Both of you. Her gaze shifted to Juno, who had appeared behind Raya. When word gets out about what kind of people you're harboring, this little diner will lose customers fast. Are you threatening us? Juno stepped forward, anger flashing in her eyes. I'm stating facts. People in this neighborhood have standards. Yeah, Juno said sweetly. That's why they don't steal from their own children. Carla's face went white with rage. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Actually, I do. Raya pulled out her own phone and showed Carla the screen. I have a recording of this entire conversation, including the part where you just threatened to hurt someone's business. You can't record me without my consent. Actually, I can. This is a one-party consent state. Raya's smile was arctic. Thanks for the additional evidence. Carla yanked her foot back and the door slammed shut. They could hear her screaming threats through the wood, but her voice gradually faded as she moved down the hallway. Well, Juno said after the building went quiet again. That was fun. Raya was already opening her laptop. I need to file that harassment report today. You're really going all the way with this, aren't you? All the way and then some. Her phone buzzed with a text from Nova. Dad lost his job. Mom's talking about suing you. What the hell is happening? Raya stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. Miles tried to call that afternoon. Raya let it go to voicemail, then listened to the message with Juno. Raya, honey, it's Dad. I know you're angry, and maybe you have a right to be, but this has gone far enough. Your mother is... She's not handling this well. Nova got suspended from school for fighting. Everything's falling apart here. His voice was strained and tired. Can we please talk? Maybe we can work something out. I'll meet you anywhere you want. Just please. We're family. When the message ended, Juno looked at Raya expectantly. Well, he wants to mediate now. Where was this energy 3 years ago when I tried to tell him what was happening? Maybe he really didn't know. He knew. Raya's voice was flat and final. He stood by and watched. He doesn't get to speak for peace now. She deleted the voicemail and blocked his number. What about Nova? Raya considered this. Nova was 17, still a minor, still under their parents' influence. But she was also old enough to understand right from wrong. Nova made her choice when she stayed silent about the credit cards. She benefited from the fraud just like they did. She's your sister. She's Carla's daughter. There's a difference. That evening, Raya posted a new blog entry titled, When Family Becomes the Enemy. She wrote about the difficulty of cutting ties with people who share your DNA but not your values, about the difference between forgiveness and enabling, about choosing self-preservation over family loyalty. The post got 5,000 views in the first hour. The settlement meeting took place in a sterile conference room that smelled like old coffee and broken dreams. Raya sat beside her lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia Chin who specialized in identity theft cases. Across the table, Carla and Miles huddled with their attorney, a nervous-looking man who kept shuffling papers. My clients are prepared to settle, their lawyer began, but they maintained that this was a misunderstanding between family members, not criminal fraud. Patricia didn't look up from her notes. Your clients opened 5 credit accounts using my client's social security number without her knowledge or consent. They accumulated $30,000 in debt in her name. That's not a misunderstanding. That's identity theft. Carla leaned forward. She's my daughter. I was helping her establish credit. By forging her signature on applications she never saw? By using cards for your personal expenses while she was unaware the accounts existed. Patricia's tone was professionally detached. That's an interesting definition of help. The mediator, a tired-looking woman in her 50s, spread documents across the table. The evidence is substantial. Bank records, forged applications, recorded conversations admitting to the fraud. This isn't a matter of interpretation. Miles spoke for the first time. We can pay back the money. Set up a payment plan. Your clients will pay back every cent, plus interest, plus damages for the credit impact, Patricia said. The question is whether they do it voluntarily or through wage garnishment after criminal prosecution. Carla's lawyer whispered something urgent in her ear. Her face went pale. What exactly are you proposing? He asked. Patricia slid a document across the table. Full restitution of $37,000, including interest and credit repair costs. Admission of liability for identity theft. Permanent restraining order preventing any future financial contact with my client. $37,000. Miles's voice cracked. We don't have that kind of money. You'll have time to find it. Wage garnishment starts at 15% of gross income if voluntary payment isn't arranged. Raya watched her parents process the numbers. 15% of their combined income, taken directly from their paychecks before they ever saw it. The house payment, car loans, Nova's expenses, none of it would fit. This is ridiculous, Carla snapped. She's our daughter. We gave her everything. You gave her debt and damaged credit, Patricia replied. She's simply asking for it back. The mediator looked between both parties. I strongly recommend settlement. If this goes to court, criminal charges become much more likely. Carla and Miles stepped outside with their lawyer. Through the glass wall, Raya could see them arguing in hushed, desperate tones. How are you feeling? Patricia asked. Fine. Raya's expression hadn't changed throughout the entire proceeding. Better than fine. They'll settle. They don't have a choice. When her parents returned, they looked defeated. Their lawyer slid the signed settlement agreement across the table. We accept the terms, he said, quietly. 3 months later, the consequences were rolling through her family like dominoes. Miles found part-time work at a small accounting firm for half his previous salary. Carla took a job at a department store, her first employment in 15 years. The wage garnishment started immediately. Nova's Instagram. Followers began asking questions about why her lifestyle had suddenly downgraded. The designer clothes disappeared. The weekly nail appointments stopped. The social media posts became sparse and bitter. Raya learned about the house through Barrett, who heard it from customers at his construction business. Foreclosure notice went up last week, he told her over lunch. They're 3 months behind on payments. How long do they have? Bank usually gives you 90 days to catch up or make other arrangements. Raya nodded and took another bite of her sandwich. She felt nothing but a cold sense of completion. You know, Barrett said carefully, it's okay to feel something about this. I feel satisfied. Is that what you mean? I mean, it's okay to be sad that it came to this. Raya looked at him across the table. They chose this. Every single step of the way, they chose this. I know, but they're still your parents. No, she said quietly. They're the people who gave birth to me. That's not the same thing. The foreclosure auction was held on a gray Tuesday morning in November. Raya stood in the back of the small crowd that had gathered on the courthouse steps, wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap pulled low. The auctioneer's voice carried across the crisp air as he described the property. Four-bedroom colonial, excellent school district, needs minor repairs. Starting bid, $25,000 below market value. A few investors raised their hands half-heartedly. The housing market was soft, and suburban homes weren't hot commodities for flippers. When the bidding stalled at $200,000, Raya raised her hand. $250,000. The other bidders turned to look at her, but she kept her eyes on the auctioneer. The bidding resumed, briefly, then died out. No one wanted to fight over a suburban house in November. Sold to bidder number 47 for $250,000. Raya paid in cash restitution money, her savings from 3 years of tech support work, and a loan from Barrett, who had insisted on helping when she told him her plan. The paperwork took 2 weeks. By Thanksgiving, she owned the house where she'd grown up. She never moved in. Instead, she contacted the Peninsula Domestic Abuse Center and offered to donate the property for use as a transitional housing facility. The director, a woman named Susan Wells, met her at the house the following week. "This is incredibly generous," Susan said as they walked through the empty rooms. "Do you mind me asking why?" "Personal reasons." Raya stood in what had been the living room, remembering all the silent dinners and tense conversations. "I wanted to help people escape situations where family becomes the enemy. We can house 6 families here, maybe 8 if we convert the garage. Whatever works best." The donation process took another month. Raya hired contractors to update the electrical and plumbing, add security features, and install a playground in the backyard. The total cost was another $50,000 money she didn't have to spend but chose to anyway. The story broke in the local news first. Anonymous donor gives $300,000 house to abuse shelter. The reporter had done her homework, interviewing neighbors who remembered the family that had lived there, the daughter who had disappeared, the foreclosure that had shocked the quiet street. From there it spread. Local TV picked it up, then regional papers, then national news outlets looking for feel-good holiday stories. The Peninsula Domestic Abuse Center's director was careful not to reveal Raya's identity, but she spoke eloquently about the impact of the donation. "This house will provide safety and stability for families escaping abuse. It's being transformed from a place of pain into a place of healing." Raya watched the coverage from Juno's apartment, feeling something she hadn't expected: peace. "You know the internet is going to figure out it was you eventually," Juno said, scrolling through the comments on the news article. "Probably. Are you ready for that?" Raya considered the question. Her blog now had 50,000 subscribers. She'd been invited to speak at 3 conferences about financial abuse. A literary agent had contacted her about writing a book. "Yeah," she said finally, "I think I am." The revelation came 3 days later, not from investigative reporting, but from Nova's own social media. Her sister had posted a TikTok video, sobbing into the camera as she revealed that her estranged sister had bought their childhood home and given it away out of spite. "She could have given it back to us," Nova cried, "but she chose to hurt us instead." The video went viral for all the wrong reasons. Comments poured in calling Nova entitled and selfish. Others dug into the family's history, piecing together the identity theft story from Raya's blog posts and public records. Within 24 hours, Raya's phone was ringing constantly with interview requests. The coffee shop was busy enough to provide privacy through noise. Nova sat across from Raya, looking smaller than her 17 years. Her signature confidence was gone, replaced by something that looked like genuine desperation. "I'm sorry," Nova said without preamble. Raya stirred her latte and waited. "About the credit cards, about not saying anything, about the TikTok video. I was wrong. You were complicit. I was a kid who didn't want to rock the boat." Nova's eyes filled with tears. "You know how Mom gets when people oppose her." "I know exactly how she gets. That's why I left. We're losing everything. Dad can barely find work because of his credit. Mom cries every night. The house is gone, and now we're staying with Grandma Ellen in her 1-bedroom apartment." Raya felt a flicker of something, not quite sympathy, but acknowledgement of suffering. "That sounds difficult. Can you help us? Please? I know you have money now from the settlement and your blog. We're family." The word hung between them like a bridge Nova wanted to cross, but couldn't quite reach. "We share DNA," Raya said finally. "That's not the same thing as family. I know I don't deserve it, but You're right. You don't deserve it. Nova's face crumpled. So that's it? You're just going to let us suffer. I'm going to let you deal with the consequences of your choices, just like I had to deal with the consequences of yours. That's not fair. I was a minor when the credit card thing happened. You were old enough to know it was wrong, old enough to say something, old enough to choose differently. Raya leaned back in her chair. You chose comfort over honesty. Now you're comfortable. Nova stared at her through tears. You've become so cold. I've become realistic. After Nova left, Raya sat alone for another hour, nursing her coffee and watching people rush past the window. Her phone buzzed with a new email from Carla, naturally. She'd been blocked everywhere else. The subject line read, "A mother's broken heart." Raya almost deleted it without reading, but curiosity won. Raya, I know you hate me, and maybe I deserve that. But I need you to understand that everything I did was for this family. The credit cards, the debt, it was to maintain stability for you and Nova. You never wanted for anything. I made sure of that. Yes, I made mistakes. I should have explained things better, should have included you in the financial decisions. But destroying our entire family over money? That's not the daughter I raised. Your father is barely functioning. Nova cries herself to sleep every night. I've lost everything, my home, my friends, my reputation. Was your revenge really worth all that suffering? I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for mercy. Help us rebuild. And I promise things will be different, that you'll always be my daughter. No matter what. Mom. Raya read the email twice, then screenshotted it. She opened her blog and began typing a new post. When abusers play victim, recognizing manipulation in apology letters, she dissected Carla's email line by line, pointing out the manipulation tactics, the deflection of responsibility, the attempt to make Raya feel guilty for defending herself. She highlighted the phrase, "Everything I did was for this family," and the claim that maintaining stability justified identity theft. The post went live at midnight. By morning, it had 20,000 views and hundreds of comments from readers sharing their own experiences with manipulative family members. 0.3 speaking engagement. Offers arrived in her inbox before noon. That afternoon, Raya received a call from a producer at a major streaming service. They wanted to option her story for a limited series about financial abuse and family dysfunction. The angle we're most interested in, the producer explained, is how you turned your trauma into advocacy. How you refused to be a victim and instead became a voice for others in similar situations. And the family would be portrayed accurately, based on your documented experiences. We're not interested in redemption arcs for abusers. Raya thought about Carla's email, about Nova's tears, about Miles' desperate voicemail from months ago. I'm interested, she said 0.6 months later. Burden Not Broken was a best-selling memoir. Raya's speaking fees had reached 5 figures. Her platform had grown to include a podcast, a consulting business for identity theft victims, and a nonprofit organization providing legal aid for financial abuse survivors. She bought a house, not the suburban dream her parents had pursued, but a small place near the university where she finished her computer science degree. The guest room became an office where she worked on her second book. Sometimes, late at night, she'd get messages from Nova or voicemails from Miles. She deleted them without listening or reading. Carla had stopped trying to contact her directly, but occasionally her name would appear in the comments section of Raya's blog posts, usually under fake accounts, always bitter and accusatory. Raya blocked them all. The house that had once been her prison was now a thriving shelter. She drove by sometimes and saw children playing in the backyard, families getting second chances, people learning that love shouldn't hurt. She'd kept a photo from her childhood bedroom, not for nostalgia, but as a reminder. In the picture, she was 7 years old, smiling at the camera while sitting in the same room that now housed families escaping abuse. She looked at that photo now, sitting in her own office, in her own house, living her own life. I didn't get revenge, she said to the empty room, echoing the words she'd written in her book's conclusion. I got justice. There's a difference. Outside, it was raining, but inside, everything was warm and quiet and hers.